I sat at the family dinner table, fork halfway to my mouth, when my sister Angela dropped the bomb. "Mom and Dad promised I could live with you, Maxwell. I'm moving in next week." The room went silent. Everyone stared at me, waiting. My parents smiled like they'd just solved world hunger. My wife Katie squeezed my hand under the table, her knuckles white. I took a slow sip of water, set down my glass, and said, "That's awkward. I sold the house last Friday to a couple from Denver." The silence that followed my announcement felt like it lasted an hour, though it was probably only 5 seconds. Then everything erupted at once. My mother's face turned the color of her cranberry sauce. My father's fork clattered against his plate. Angela's mouth fell open like I'd just told her the earth was flat. "You what?" my mother finally managed to say, her voice climbing an octave with each word. I set my napkin down carefully, trying to keep my composure. "I sold the house. The closing was Friday afternoon. The buyers took possession yesterday. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back 3 years. I was 32 when Katie and I finally bought that house in Boulder, Colorado. We'd been saving for 7 years. 7 years of working extra shifts, skipping vacations, driving our beat-up cars into the ground. Katie worked as a nurse at the hospital, pulling double shifts whenever she could. I was in IT support, and I took every freelance project that came my way, even the ones that meant staying up until 3 in the morning. The house was a disaster when we bought it. The previous owners had let it fall apart. The roof leaked, the floors were warped, and the kitchen looked like it hadn't been updated since 1975. But it was ours. Katie and I spent every weekend for 18 months renovating it ourselves. I learned plumbing from YouTube videos. Katie refinished the hardwood floors on her hands and knees. We painted every wall, replaced every fixture, and turned that wreck into something beautiful. My parents never helped. Not with money, not with labor, not even with advice. They were too busy dealing with Angela. Angela is 27, 5 years younger than me. She's never held a job for longer than 6 months. There was always a reason. The boss was terrible. The co-workers were cliquey. The work was beneath her. The commute was too long. She'd quit, move back home for a while, then try something new in a different city. Chicago, Seattle, Austin, Portland. She'd been through them all. My parents funded every move, every fresh start, every new beginning. They paid her rent, bought her furniture, covered her car payments. Meanwhile, when Katie and I asked if they could loan us $5,000 for the down payment on our house, they said they couldn't afford it. 2 months later, they gave Angela $7,000 to move to Chicago and pursue a career in graphic design, despite the fact that she'd never shown any interest in art before. I was always the responsible one, the one who didn't need help, the one who had it figured out. My parents loved to tell their friends about my job, my wife, my house. They just never actually helped me achieve any of it. 6 months ago, Angela quit her job in Chicago. She called it a layoff, but I later found out she just stopped showing up. She moved back in with our parents in Denver, promising it would be temporary. She needed time to figure out her next move, to find herself, to heal from the trauma of corporate America or whatever excuse she was using that week. Our parents started dropping hints immediately. Wouldn't it be nice if Angela could stay with us for a while? Boulder had such great energy, it might inspire her. We had that extra bedroom, didn't we? Family helps family. I deflected every time. Katie was more direct. She flat out told my mother that we weren't running a hotel for grown adults who refused to take responsibility for their lives. My mother accused her of being cruel. Katie didn't apologize, but I never imagined they'd actually promise Angela our house without asking us first. I defended my parents to Katie every time she warned me they were overstepping. It'd say things like, "They wouldn't actually do that," or "You're reading too much into it." Katie would give me that look, the one that said she loved me but thought I was being naive. She was right. I was naive. Now, sitting at this dinner table with everyone staring at me like Eid committed murder, I realized just how badly Eid misjudged the situation. My mother stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "You're lying," she said, pulling out her phone. "You told us Angela could stay. You said it right here." She shoved her phone in my face, showing me a text conversation from 3 weeks ago. My chest tightened as I read it. There was my number, my name, and messages that said, "Sure, she can stay as long as she needs. And we've got the space." Except I never said that. Not in that context. I grabbed my own phone and scrolled back through my messages. There it was. The original conversation. My mother had texted asking if Angela could visit for a weekend while she apartment hunted in Denver. Id said sure, she could stay as long as she needed for the weekend, and we had the space for a short visit. They'd twisted my words. Completely. This was about a weekend visit, I said, my voice steady despite the anger rising in my chest. You asked if Angela could visit for a weekend. I said yes to a visit, not to her moving in. Don't split hairs, Maxwell. My father said, his voice hard. You said she could stay, for a weekend. You didn't specify. I shouldn't have to specify. You asked about a visit, not a permanent living arrangement. Angela started crying, loud, theatrical sobs that filled the dining room. I can't believe you're doing this to me, she wailed. I'm your sister. I'm family. Katie squeezed my hand again, then stood up. He didn't do anything to you, Angela. You made assumptions. My mother whirled on her. Stay out of this. This is family business. I am family, Katie said, her voice like ice. I'm his wife, and that house was ours, not theirs to promise to anyone. My father pointed at me, his finger shaking. You call those buyers right now and cancel the sale. I stared at him. You can't be serious. Dead serious. You made a commitment to your sister. I made no such commitment. Then you're going back on your word. What word? I never agreed to this. My mother's face was red now, tears streaming down her cheeks. How can you be so selfish? She has nowhere to go. She can stay with you, Katie said. We don't have the space. My mother shot back. You have a 4-bedroom house, Katie replied. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Nobody had an answer for that. Angela kept sobbing. My father kept demanding I cancel the sale. My mother kept crying about how Shed raised such a heartless son. Katie stood beside me, her jaw tight, her eyes blazing. I looked at the texts again. Then I looked at my sister, at my parents, at the family dinner that had turned into a nightmare, and I realized something that made my stomach turn. They'd planned this. They'd orchestrated this whole thing, the ambiguous text, the family dinner, the public confrontation. They thought if they cornered me in front of everyone, I wouldn't be able to say no. They were wrong. The sale is final, I said, standing up. Katie and I are leaving now. If you walk out that door, my father said, his voice low and threatening, there will be consequences. I grabbed my coat. Then I guess we'll deal with the consequences. Katie and I left. Behind us, I could hear Angela's sobs growing louder, my mother shouting about betrayal, my father saying something about lawyers. In the car, Katie was quiet for a long time. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you, she said. I didn't feel proud. I felt sick, but I knew she was right. We'd done the right thing. I just had no idea how much worse it was about to get. The next 3 days were hell. My phone started ringing at 6 in the morning the day after the dinner. It was my Aunt Patricia, my mother's older sister. She didn't even say hello. Maxwell, what on earth were you thinking? Your sister is devastated. I tried to explain, but she talked over me. Shed heard my mother's version of events. In that version, he had explicitly promised Angela could live with us, then sold the house out from under her out of pure spite. When I tried to correct the story, Patricia cut me off. I don't want to hear excuses, she said. You fix this. She hung up before I could respond. That was just the first call. Over the next 72 hours, I heard from Uncle Thomas, Aunt Linda, my cousins Jennifer and Marcus, my grandmother on my mother's side, and at least 6 family friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Every single one of them had the same message. You were wrong. You're being selfish. Family comes first. How could you do this to your sister? Nobody wanted to hear my side. Nobody asked what actually happened. They'd already decided I was the villain. The text messages were worse. Group chats I didn't even know I was part of suddenly exploded with activity. Cousins I barely knew were calling me heartless. People were sharing screenshots of Angela's social media posts, where she had written long, emotional paragraphs about cruel siblings who abandon family in their time of need. Her posts were getting hundreds of likes and comments. People I'd gone to high school with were commenting about what a terrible person I was. Someone even tagged me, asking if I had anything to say for myself. I didn't respond. What was the point? They'd already made up their minds. Katie was furious. She'd never been close to my family, and now I understood why. She'd seen through them years ago. Block them, she kept saying. Block all of them. You don't owe them anything. But I couldn't, not yet. Some part of me still hoped they'd listen, that they'd understand once they knew the truth. I was wrong about that too. Work became impossible. I sat at my desk trying to focus on code, but my mind kept drifting. I'd refresh my phone and see another angry message. I'd try to concentrate and find myself replaying the dinner in my head, wondering if there was something I could have said differently. My boss noticed. She called me into her office on Wednesday and asked if everything was okay at home. I gave her a sanitized version of events. She told me to take a few days off if I needed to. I said I was fine. I wasn't fine. On Thursday afternoon, I got a message from my cousin Ryan. Unlike the others, his message wasn't angry. It was concerned. Maxwell, I need to tell you something. Angela's been talking about this move for weeks. She told everyone at Mom's birthday party last month that she was moving into your house. She said you and Katie had invited her, that you were excited to have her. She's been telling people it was all arranged. My blood ran cold. Last month, she'd been planning this for at least a month, probably longer. I called Ryan. He answered on the second ring. How many people did she tell? I asked. Everyone, he said. The whole family. She talked about it constantly. She even showed us pictures of your guest room and said she was planning how to decorate it. I never invited her, Ryan. I never agreed to any of this. I believe you, he said, but she's been building this narrative for a while, and now that it's fallen through, she's spinning it like you pulled the rug out from under her at the last second. What else did she say? Ryan hesitated. She said she'd already quit her apartment in Chicago. Said she shipped all her stuff to Mom and Dad's place because she was moving to Boulder next week. I closed my eyes. This was worse than I thought. Did Mom and Dad know? I asked. Did they know she'd quit her apartment? I think so, Ryan said. I remember your mom saying something about how tight money was getting with Angela's storage unit and everything. They knew. They all knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a calculated plan. They'd created a situation where Angela had nowhere else to go, then expected me to cave under the pressure. That evening, I tried one more time to explain everything to several family members. I sent detailed messages with screenshots of the original conversation, showing exactly what I'd agreed to and what I hadn't. I explained that Katie and I needed the money from the house sale, that we were planning our future, that we had our own lives to live. Most people didn't respond. A few said it didn't matter, that family was supposed to help each other no matter what. One cousin told me I was splitting hairs and making excuses. Only Ryan and my cousin Jessica believed me. Jessica sent me a long message saying she'd always noticed how differently my parents treated Angela and me. She said she was sorry, that she should have said something years ago. It helped, but it didn't fix anything. Friday afternoon, 5 days after the dinner, I got home from work to find Katie sitting at the kitchen table with an envelope in her hands. Her face was pale. This came certified mail, she said, sliding it across to me. I opened it. Inside was a letter from a law firm in Denver. The words blurred together as I read, but certain phrases jumped out. Breach of oral contract, promissory estoppel, reasonable reliance, damages and emotional distress. My parents were suing me. They were actually suing me. The letter demanded that I either cancel the house sale immediately or pay Angela $50,000 in damages for the hardship and emotional distress it caused by reneging on our agreement. I read it 3 times, each time hoping I'd misunderstood, but the words didn't change. My own parents had hired a lawyer to threaten me. Katie watched me read, her hands clenched into fists on the table. Say the word, she said quietly, and I will never speak to them again. Not at holidays. Not at birthdays. Never. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the letter, at my parents' names at the bottom, at the lawyer's signature making it all official and real. Maxwell, Katie said, her voice softer now. We need to fight this. We need to protect ourselves. I nodded slowly. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing your parents are willing to sue you is different from accepting it. Some part of me kept thinking this was a nightmare I'd wake up from. That someone would call and say there'd been a misunderstanding, that the lawyer had been hired by mistake, that everything would go back to normal. Nobody called. That night, I barely slept. Katie held me, and I stared at the ceiling, wondering how my family had gotten to this point, wondering where it'd gone wrong, wondering if there was any way to fix this that didn't involve lawyers and lawsuits and words that could never be taken back. By morning, I had my answer. There wasn't. Monday morning, I took a personal day from work and drove to a lawyer's office in downtown Boulder. Her name was Sharon Morris, and she specialized in family law. Katie had found her through a friend at the hospital. Sharon was in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She read through my parents' letter, asked me a dozen questions about the timeline of events, then sat back in her chair. This lawsuit is garbage, she said bluntly. There's no oral contract here. You never agreed to let your sister live with you. Even if you had, the statute of frauds would likely apply. Agreements related to real property generally need to be in writing. Relief washed over me. So they can't win. They can't win, she confirmed. But they can make your life miserable trying. Even a baseless lawsuit costs time and money to defend against. They're counting on you caving rather than fighting. How much would it cost to fight? Katie asked. Shed insisted on coming with me. Sharon looked at us seriously. Could be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on how far they push it. Maybe more if it goes to trial, though I doubt it would. My stomach sank. Wed just bought a house. We were trying to start a family. We didn't have $15,000 to spend on lawyers. What are our options? I asked. You could try to negotiate a settlement, but I'd advise against it. Once you pay someone to go away, they learn that threatening you works. Your other option is to call their bluff. Respond through me. Make it clear you won't be intimidated. And see if they back down. I looked at Katie. She nodded. Let's call their bluff, I said. Sharon drafted a response letter that afternoon. It was professional, firm, and made it clear that we would vigorously defend ourselves against any lawsuit. She also noted that if they continued to harass us, we would consider filing a countersuit for harassment and malicious prosecution. The letter went out Tuesday morning. I spent the rest of the week in a state of anxious waiting, checking my phone constantly, jumping every time I got an email notification. Nothing happened. By Friday, I started to hope that maybe Sharon had been right. Maybe they were bluffing. Maybe this would all blow over. Then Saturday came. I decided to try one more time to talk to my parents face to face. Maybe without Angela there, without the audience, we could have a real conversation. Katie thought it was a terrible idea. Sharon thought it was a terrible idea. I did it anyway. I drove to my parents' house in Denver alone. It was early afternoon, and I'd called ahead to make sure they'd be home. My mother had answered the phone, her voice cold, and said simply, "Fine. Come." The house looked the same as it always had. The same white trim, the same flower beds my mother obsessively maintained, the same welcome mat that now felt deeply ironic. I stood on the porch for a long moment before knocking. My father answered. He didn't say hello. He just stepped aside to let me in. The living room felt different somehow, though nothing had changed physically. My mother sat in her usual chair, her arms crossed. My father sat on the couch. Nobody invited me to sit, so I stood. I came to talk, I said. Not to fight, just to talk. Then talk, my father said. I took a breath. Katie and I saved for 7 years to buy that house. We renovated it ourselves. Every penny we made went into that house and into our future. We're planning to start a family. We need the money from the sale for our next down payment, for hospital bills, for everything that comes with having a baby. My mother's expression didn't change. Angela needs help now. I understand that, I said. trying to keep my voice calm. But this isn't my emergency. You both knew she was planning to move in with us before anyone asked me. You let her quit her apartment, ship her stuff, tell the entire family, all without checking if Wed actually agreed to this. We thought it was understood. My father said, "How could it be understood if nobody asked me?" "Family doesn't need to ask," my mother said sharply. "Family helps." "I've never asked you for help," I said, and immediately regretted it. That wasn't the point I wanted to make. But my mother latched onto it. "Exactly. You've never needed us. You've always been fine on your own. Angela needs support." "She's struggling. She's been struggling for 10 years, I said. "And you've been enabling her for 10 years. When does it end?" "That's not your concern," my father said. "It is when you try to make it my responsibility." The conversation was going nowhere. I could feel it spiraling. I tried a different approach. "What's Angela's plan?" I asked. If Shed moved in with us, what was the long-term plan? How long was she going to stay? What was she going to do for work? How was she going to contribute to household expenses? My parents exchanged a glance. It was quick, but I caught it. "We thought you two could figure that out," my mother said. "So there was no plan. She needs time to figure things out." "She's had time," I said. "She's 27 years old. She's had years to figure things out. Not everyone has it as easy as you," my mother snapped. "Easy?" The word came out harsher than I intended. "You think my life has been easy?" Katie and I worked ourselves to exhaustion for 7 years. We drove cars that barely ran. We ate ramen for dinner half the time. We did everything ourselves because we had no help. "We couldn't afford to help you," my father said. "But you could afford to help Angela every single time she asked." Silence. My father looked away. My mother's jaw tightened. "That's different," she said finally. "How?" "She needs us more. Or maybe you just enabled her more." My mother stood up, her face flushed. "Get out of my house, Mom. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to understand. There's nothing to understand. You've made your position clear. You care more about money than family. That's not fair." "Fair?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about fair? Fine. Let's talk about Angela's credit card debt." I blinked. "What?" My father shot my mother a look, but she ignored him. "She's $23,000 in debt," my mother said. "Credit cards, personal loans, things she bought and couldn't pay for. That's why she was evicted from her Chicago apartment. She couldn't make rent because she was trying to pay down the debt." My stomach dropped. "You never told me that. Why would we? It's not your problem." "But you wanted to make it my problem," I said slowly, the pieces clicking together. "You wanted her to move in with me so Wed'd help her pay it off." My father stood up now too. "That's not what we said." "But that's what you meant. You expected Katie and me to house her, feed her, and eventually help her with her debt because that's what family does. She's your sister," my mother said, her voice rising. "She made mistakes. We all make mistakes, Mom. There's a difference between making mistakes and refusing to take responsibility for them. You don't understand what it's like for her because you've never let her face any real consequences." The words hung in the air. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. "I think we're done here," my father said. But I wasn't done. I had one more question. "Did you know?" I asked. "When you texted me about Angela visiting for a weekend, did you already know she was planning to move in with us permanently?" Another glance between them. Longer this time. My father spoke. "We thought if we eased you into the idea, you'd be more receptive." My breath caught. "So you manipulated me. We tried to help our daughter. By lying to me." "We didn't lie. You absolutely lied. You asked about a weekend visit knowing she planned to stay permanently. You let her tell everyone in the family that Id agreed when I hadn't. You created a situation where Id looked like the bad guy if I said no." My father's face hardened. "We did what we had to do." "Why?" "Because she's our daughter and she needed help. So you sacrificed me instead. You're strong enough to handle it," my mother said. "You always have been. Angela isn't." There it was. The truth I'd suspected my whole life but never heard spoken out loud. I was the strong one, so I didn't matter. Angela was weak, so she got everything. I felt something break inside my chest. Not my heart, exactly. Something deeper. The part of me that had spent 32 years trying to earn my parents' approval, trying to be good enough, trying to matter as much as Angela did. I came here hoping we could fix this, I said quietly. I thought if we talked honestly, we could find a way forward. Then cancel the sale, my father said. That's the way forward. The buyers took possession a week ago. They've already moved in. There is no canceling the sale. Then pay Angela the $50,000. I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to me. I don't have $50,000, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to her. She'd blow through it in 6 months and be right back where she started. My mother moved toward me, her finger pointed at my chest. Then you're choosing money over family. No, I said, backing toward the door. I'm choosing my wife and my future over enabling someone who refuses to help themselves. My father's voice was cold. You'll cancel that sale, or you'll lose this family forever. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I almost wavered, almost gave in. Almost said, okay, he'll figure something out. He'll fix this somehow. Then I thought about Katie, about the baby we were planning, about the life we were building, about the 7 years wed sacrificed to buy that house, about the fact that my parents had never once helped us, never once put us first, never once considered that maybe we deserved support too. I opened the door. Then I guess I've lost you, I said. My mother screamed after me as I walked to my car. I don't remember what she said. I just remember the sound of her voice, high and angry and desperate. I drove home with tears streaming down my face, not because I regretted my decision, but because I finally understood that my parents had never seen me as anything more than a resource to manage, a tool to solve Angela's problems, the reliable son who would always do what needed to be done, no matter the cost to himself. I was done being that son. When I got home, Katie took one look at my face and pulled me into her arms. I told her everything, every word, every moment, every horrible truth that had come out. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Don't be, I said. I needed to hear it. I needed to know who they really are. What do we do now? We move forward. We sell the house. We buy a new one. We start our family. We do it without them. She held me tighter. Okay, we can do that. That night, I blocked my parents' numbers. I blocked Angela's too. I told Sharon to handle all future communication through her office. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong again. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and over 40 text messages, all from numbers I didn't recognize. Katie woke up to the same thing. Angela had posted our phone numbers on social media. Her post said, "Since my brother won't answer me, maybe he'll answer you. Let Maxwell know what you think of people who abandon their family." Below that were both our cell numbers. The messages ranged from concerned to hostile. Some people genuinely wanted to hear our side. Most just wanted to tell us we were terrible people. A few were threats, vague but disturbing enough that Katie insisted we screenshot them and send them to Sharon. I reported the post to the social media platform. They took it down within a few hours. But the damage was done. Our numbers were out there, copied and shared in other posts and group chats. Katie changed her number that afternoon. I kept mine but turned off notifications from unknown numbers. "This is harassment," Sharon said when I called her. "Document everything, every call, every message, every post. If they keep this up, well, file for a restraining order." The thought of needing a restraining order against my own family made me feel sick. Work was a nightmare. I couldn't focus. I sat through meetings without hearing a word. I stared at my computer screen without seeing it. My boss noticed again, and this time she didn't ask. She told me to take the rest of the week off. "Family emergency," she said, not unkindly. "Go deal with it. Your work will be here when you get back." Katie and I spent the next few days in a fog. We'd both taken time off, but we didn't know what to do with it. We couldn't go out without checking our phones constantly. We couldn't relax in our own rental apartment because it felt temporary, unstable, like we were waiting for the next attack. The house closing had already happened. The buyers, a nice couple from Denver named Sarah and Mark, had moved in without any issues. They had no idea about the family drama surrounding their purchase. I envied them their ignorance. Katie and I had been apartment hunting, looking for something to rent while we figured out our next move. Wed put the money from the house sale into savings, earmarked for the down payment on our next home. But with the lawyer fees piling up and the constant stress, looking at apartments felt impossible. On Wednesday, Katie was scrolling through her phone when she suddenly went very still. "Maxwell," she said quietly. "You need to see this." She handed me her phone. It was a Facebook message from someone named Diane Brennan. I didn't recognize the name. The message was long, and as I read it, my blood ran cold. "Hi, Katie. I hope this isn't weird, but I saw your husband's sister Angela posting on Facebook about how her brother abandoned her. I recognized her because I used to be her roommate in Chicago. I feel like you should know some things about her that you might not be aware of." What followed was a detailed account of Angela's time in Chicago. According to Diane, Angela hadn't been laid off from her job. She'd been fired for repeatedly coming in late and leaving early, then finally stopped showing up altogether without notice. But that wasn't the worst part. Diane wrote that Angela had borrowed money from 6 different people in their friend group over the course of 8 months. Small amounts at first, $100 here, $200 there, always with a sob story, always with a promise to pay it back. She never paid anyone back. Diane also claimed that Angela had stolen items from their shared apartment. Small things at first that could be dismissed as mistakes. A necklace, a jacket, some cash from Diane's wallet. Then, bigger things, a laptop, an iPad. Diane had found some of them listed for sale on local marketplace groups. When Diane confronted her, Angela denied everything, then moved out in the middle of the night, leaving 3 months of unpaid rent that Diane had to cover. The message ended with, "I saw she's trying to move in with her brother and I felt like he should know who he'd be living with. I tried to report her to the police, but they said it was a civil matter. I just don't want her to do to you what she did to me and a bunch of other people here. I'm really sorry your family is going through this." Attached to the message were screenshots, photos of the items Angela had allegedly stolen, screenshots of Venmo requests for the money she'd borrowed, screenshots of text messages where she made excuses for not paying people back, screenshots of the marketplace listings showing Deanna's stolen property. I read it all twice, then a third time. Katie watched my face. "Do you think it's true?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. But even as I said it, I realized I did know. Deep down, I'd always known something was off about Angela's stories. The details never quite lined up. The explanations were always just plausible enough but never quite believable. "We need to verify this," Katie said. "We can't just take a stranger's word for it." She was right. I sent a message back to Diane asking if she'd be willing to talk on the phone. She responded within minutes. Yes, absolutely. She wanted to help. An hour later, I was on a video call with Diane. She was 30 years old, worked as a teacher, and seemed genuinely concerned. She walked me through everything again, showing me additional documentation she'd kept. Bank statements showing the money she'd lent Angela. Photos of the police report she'd tried to file. A letter from their landlord about the unpaid rent. "I'm not trying to cause problems for your family," Diane said. "But when I saw her posts about moving in with you, I got scared for you. She's good at playing the victim. She's really, really good at it, but she's not a victim. She's someone who uses people until they have nothing left, then moves on to the next person." After the call, Katie and I sat in silence for a long time. "What do we do with this information?" I finally asked. "We send it to Sharon," Katie said, "and we make sure your parents know who they're really protecting." But I hesitated. Showing my parents this evidence meant weaponizing it against Angela. It meant potentially destroying whatever relationship remained between my sister and our parents. It meant crossing a line I couldn't uncross. "Maxwell," Katie said gently. "She already crossed that line. She posted our phone numbers online. She's letting strangers harass us. She's not protecting you, so why are you protecting her?" She was right. Of course she was right. I forwarded everything to Sharon. Then I drafted an email to my parents. I attached the screenshots, the documentation, everything Diane had sent. I wrote, I didn't want to share this with you, but you deserve to know who you're asking me to support. Angela wasn't laid off in Chicago. She was fired. She didn't just struggle with rent. She stole from her roommates and friends. She scammed multiple people out of money. She abandoned her apartment owing 3 months' rent. I have documentation of all of this from her former roommate and others. I'm not sharing this to hurt Angela. I'm sharing it because you need to understand why I can't enable her. She needs professional help, not a free place to live where she can continue avoiding responsibility. I hope you'll consider getting her the help she actually needs. I stared at the email for 20 minutes before hitting send. Katie sat beside me, her hand on my shoulder. It's the right thing to do, she said. Then why does it feel so terrible? Because you're a good person. Good people feel terrible when they have to hurt someone, even when that someone has hurt them first. The email sent. I closed my laptop and tried not to think about what would happen next. 3 days passed in silence. No response from my parents. No calls, no messages, nothing. I checked my email obsessively, both hoping for and dreading a response. Then, on Saturday morning, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Maxwell. It was my father's voice, but it sounded different. Older somehow. Tired. Dad, we need to talk. Can you come to the house? My whole body tensed. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, he said. Just me. Your mother is staying with her sister for a few days. Angela's not here either. Just me. I need to talk to you. I looked at Katie. She shook her head, mouthing no. But I found myself saying, okay, when? Now, if you can. 20 minutes later, I was driving back to my parents' house. Katie had made me promise to keep my phone on and check in every 30 minutes. Shed also forwarded our location to Sharon, just in case. I felt ridiculous taking these precautions with my own father. But after everything that had happened, ridiculous precautions felt necessary. My father answered the door before I even knocked. He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, his clothes wrinkled like heads slept in them. The house behind him was dark, curtains drawn. Come in, he said quietly. I followed him to the living room. He sat heavily on the couch. I stayed standing, ready to leave if this turned into another ambush. Thank you for coming, he said. He stared at his hands. I wasn't sure you would. What did you want to talk about? He took a long breath. Your mother and I got your email. We read everything you sent. We looked at all the screenshots, the messages, everything. I waited. We didn't believe it at first, he continued. Your mother said it was fake, that this Diane person was lying, that you'd fabricated it all to make Angela look bad. I didn't fabricate anything. I know. He looked up at me then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Defeat. Complete and total defeat. I called Diane myself. She sent me more documentation, more proof. I called Angela's old landlord in Chicago. I called her former employer. Everything you sent was true. All of it. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. Don't apologize, he said sharply. Then, softer. I'm the one who should be apologizing. I sat down then, across from him, because my legs suddenly felt weak. 2 days ago, my father said, your mother discovered that Angela had been stealing from us. My stomach dropped. She took your mother's jewelry, wedding ring, the pearl necklace from her grandmother, all of it. Sold it at a pawn shop downtown. We only found out because your mother was looking for her ring to wear to church and couldn't find it. We searched Angela's room and found the pawn tickets. He pulled out his phone and showed me photos. Pawn shop receipts. $1,900 total for items worth at least $10,000. We confronted her. He continued. She denied it at first. Then she said Shed needed the money for rent. But she's been living here for free for 6 months. Then she said it was for food. Then for car insurance. The story kept changing. His hands were shaking. We checked our bank account. She's been withdrawing money. Small amounts we didn't notice. $20 here, $50 there. Over the past 4 months, She's taken almost $3,000. Dad, I started, but he held up his hand. Let me finish. Please. He took another shaky breath. We searched her room more thoroughly. We found mail she'd been hiding, collection notices, court summons. She's being sued by 3 different credit card companies. The debt isn't $23,000. It's closer to $40,000. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. She's been lying to us for years, my father said, and his voice broke. About everything. The jobs, the evictions, the money, all of it. And we believed her every time because we wanted to believe her. Because admitting the truth meant admitting we'd failed as parents. You didn't fail, I said automatically, though I wasn't sure I believed it. We did, he said firmly. We failed you by making you feel like you didn't matter as much as Angela did. We failed Angela by never making her face consequences. We created this situation by enabling her for so long that she doesn't know how to function without us cleaning up her messes. Silence filled the room. I didn't know what to say. I'm not asking for forgiveness, my father said. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to understand that we finally see what we've done, what we've been doing, and we're sorry. I'm sorry. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And I saw tears in his eyes. Your mother isn't ready to admit it yet, he said. She's angry. At me, at you, at Angela, at the whole situation. She's staying with Linda while she processes everything. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what we did to you. How unfair we've been. How we took advantage of your strength and your kindness. My throat felt tight. What are you going to do about Angela? She's moved to Phoenix. Left 3 days ago without telling us where she was going. Just packed up and left. We found out because she posted about it on social media. Some story about fresh starts and toxic family members. He laughed, but it was a bitter sound. We're done enabling her, he said. We've cut her off financially, closed our bank accounts and opened new ones she doesn't have access to, changed our locks. Your mother wanted to keep helping her, but I put my foot down. Maybe for the first time in 27 years. How's Mom handling that? Not well. That's part of why she's at Linda's. She's angry at me for cutting Angela off. But I can't do it anymore, Maxwell. I can't keep sacrificing everything for someone who won't help themselves. I can't keep sacrificing you. The words hung in the air. The lawsuit is dropped, my father said. I fired the lawyer. Told him it was all a mistake. You won't hear from him again. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by anger. Relief that it was over. Anger that it had happened in the first place. Thank you, I managed to say. Don't thank me for doing the bare minimum of decency, he said. You don't owe me gratitude for finally acting like a parent should. We sat in silence for a while. The house felt empty and sad. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Anything. Why? Why did you and Mom always choose Angela over me? He closed his eyes. Because you didn't need us. Or at least, that's what we told ourselves. You were always so capable, so independent, so strong. Angela was always struggling, and we thought being good parents meant helping the child who needed it most. I needed you too, I said, and my voice cracked. Maybe not financially, but I needed you. I needed you to be proud of me. I needed you to notice that I was working myself to death trying to make you proud. I needed you to choose me sometimes. I know, he whispered. God, I know. And we failed you. We took your strength for granted and we used it against you. He stood up and walked to the window, his back to me. Your mother and I have been talking about going to counseling, he said. Individually and together. We need to figure out why we did what we did. Why we enabled Angela for so long. Why we couldn't see what it was doing to you. That's good, I said. That's a good step. It might be too late, he said, turning back to me. I understand if you don't want us in your life anymore. If you can't forgive us. You'll understand if you need to walk away permanently. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know what I want yet, I said honestly. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel betrayed. But you're still my father, and some part of me still loves you despite everything. He nodded, wiping his eyes. Katie's pregnant, I said suddenly. I hadn't planned to tell him, but the words came out anyway. We just found out last week. His face transformed. For a moment, he looked like he might cry again, but this time from joy instead of grief. "Congratulations," he said. "That's wonderful news. I don't know if you'll be part of the baby's life," I said. "I need time to figure that out, to heal, to see if you and Mom can actually change. I understand, whatever you need. But I wanted you to know. I wanted you to know that Katie and I are building something. A family. A real family, based on respect and boundaries, and actually caring about each other. With or without you. You'll be an amazing father," he said. "You'll do better than I did. He'll try." We talked for another hour. Not about Angela, not about the lawsuit. Just small talk. He asked about my job, about Katie's work at the hospital, about the new house we were looking for. I asked about his golf game, about Mom's garden, about normal things that normal families talk about. It felt strange, like we were both pretending to be father and son instead of actually being it, but it was something. When I left, he walked me to my car. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know I don't deserve your time, but thank you for giving it anyway. You're welcome. Can I hug you?" I hesitated, then nodded. The hug was brief and awkward, both of us not quite sure how to do this anymore. But it was real. "Take care of yourself," he said. "And Katie, and the baby." "I will." I drove home feeling oddly empty. Not happy, not sad, just hollow. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long that now that it was gone, I didn't know what to do with my arms. Katie was waiting when I got home. I told her everything. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Relieved? Sad? Angry? All of it at once. That's normal," she said. "You're allowed to feel complicated things about complicated situations." "Do you think I should forgive them?" I asked. "I think you should do whatever you need to do to be at peace," she said. "If that means forgiving them, okay. If it means keeping your distance, that's okay too. There's no right answer here." She was right. There was no right answer. But at least now I had the space to figure it out. 3 months passed. Katie and I found a house in a neighborhood called Gun Barrel, on the northern edge of Boulder. It was smaller than our first house, but newer, with better bones. We closed on it in late October, just as the aspens were turning gold in the mountains. We didn't tell my parents the address. I maintained occasional contact with my father. Short texts, mostly. He'd ask how I was doing. I'd give brief updates. He'd share things about his counseling sessions, what he was learning, how he was trying to change. It was stilted and awkward, but it was communication. My mother never reached out. According to my father, she was still processing everything. Still angry. Still convinced that somehow this was all a misunderstanding that could be fixed if everyone would just calm down and be reasonable. I'd stopped expecting her to change. Angela had apparently burned through Phoenix in record time. My father mentioned in one text that Shed called asking for money. Head said no. Shed hung up on him. That was 2 months ago. Nobody had heard from her since. I felt guilty about not caring more, but the guilt was faint, like an old bruise that only hurt when you pressed on it directly. Katie's pregnancy was progressing well. Morning sickness had been rough, but she was in her second trimester now and feeling better. Wed had our first ultrasound. The baby was healthy. Wed decided not to find out the gender, wanting it to be a surprise. We spent our weekends painting the nursery and assembling furniture. Katie's parents came to visit and helped us set everything up. They were warm and kind and genuinely excited to be grandparents. They asked about my parents once. I gave them a very abbreviated version of what had happened. They didn't push for details. "Family is complicated," Katie's mother said. "But you two are doing great. That baby is lucky to have you." Work settled back into routine. My boss never asked for details about what had happened. She just welcomed me back and acted like nothing had changed. I appreciated her discretion more than she probably knew. One evening in early November, I was washing dishes when my phone rang. An unknown number with a Boulder area code. I almost didn't answer. Old habits dying hard. But something made me pick up. "Maxwell, it's Ryan. My cousin." the one who'd believe me from the start. "Hey," I said. "What's up? I wanted to give you a heads up. Your Aunt Linda called a family meeting for this weekend. At her place. She's inviting everyone." My stomach tightened. "What's it about?" "You. Angela. The whole situation. Linda's been talking to your dad and she thinks the family needs to come together and clear the air." "I don't want to do that," I said immediately. "I figured, but I thought you should know so you're not blindsided if people start calling you." "Thanks for the warning. For what it's worth," Ryan said. "Jessica and I have been telling people the truth about what really happened. Not everyone believes us, but some do. The family's pretty split right now. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. Don't be. Someone needed to stand up for you. Better late than never." After we hung up, I told Katie about the family meeting. "Are you going?" she asked. "No, absolutely not. I don't need to justify myself to people who wouldn't listen the first time." "Good," she said firmly. "You don't owe them anything." But the calls started the next day. Aunt Linda asking me to reconsider. Uncle Thomas saying the family needed healing. Cousin Jennifer practically begging me to come so we could all move forward. I said no to all of them. The family meeting happened without me. According to Ryan, who texted me updates, it was a disaster. Half the family defended my parents and Angela. The other half, armed with the information Ryan and Jessica had shared, defended me. Arguments erupted. People stormed out. Aunt Linda cried. "Your dad spoke up." Ryan texted. He told everyone what really happened. Everything Angela did, how he and your mom handled it wrong. Some people believed him. Some said he was lying to protect you. It was messy. I read the messages feeling oddly detached, like this was happening to someone else's family, not mine. "Do you regret not going?" Katie asked after I told her about it. "No," I said. "I used to think I needed their validation, their understanding, but I don't. I know what happened. You know what happened. The people who matter know the truth. That's enough." She kissed my forehead. "I'm proud of you." 2 weeks later, my phone rang again. My father. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Hi, do you have a minute?" "Sure. I wanted to tell you something." He paused. "Your mother and I had a breakthrough in couples counseling yesterday." "Oh." She finally admitted that she's been treating Angela differently because of something that happened a long time ago. When Angela was 7, I remembered my Aunt Linda mentioning something about this, but I stayed quiet, letting him continue. "Your mother was driving. Angela was in the back seat. Someone ran a red light and hit them. Angela was fine, just some bruises and a bump on her head. But your mother blamed herself. She's carried that guilt for 20 years. Dad, that wasn't her fault. I know. The therapist knows. Even your mother knows, intellectually. But emotionally, she's been trying to make up for it ever since. She convinced herself that Angela was fragile, that she needed extra protection, extra support, and she couldn't see that her guilt was hurting both you and Angela. Is she willing to change? She's trying. She wrote you a letter, asked me to read it to you if you were willing to listen." I glanced at Katie. She nodded encouragingly. "Okay," I said. My father cleared his throat and began reading. "Maxwell, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for favoring Angela. I'm sorry for dismissing your feelings. I'm sorry for not seeing how hard you worked and how much you sacrificed. I'm sorry for trying to make you responsible for your sister's problems. I'm sorry for threatening you with a lawsuit when you were just trying to protect your own family. I've been a terrible mother to you, and I can't change the past. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see how wrong I was. I see how much I hurt you, and am working on being better. Not for you, because I don't deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserved better all along, and I failed to give it to you. I hope someday you can forgive me, but if you can't, I understand. Love, Mom." Silence on the phone. I realized I was crying. "Maxwell," my father said softly. "Am here. She means it. She's really trying. I know." I wiped my eyes. "Tell her thank you. Tell her I appreciate the letter. Do you want to talk to her? She's here. We could do a call together." I hesitated. The old me would have said yes immediately, eager to smooth things over, to make everyone comfortable. But Id learned something over the past few months. Not yet, I said. I need more time. But maybe eventually. I understand. Well, wait. However long you need. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why now? Why is she finally changing now when she wouldn't before? My father was quiet for a moment. I think she finally hit rock bottom. Angela's gone. Won't speak to us. You set boundaries. The family's fractured. She looked around and realized she'd destroyed everything trying to protect Angela from consequences that Angela needed to face. She had to choose between admitting she was wrong or losing everyone. She chose to admit she was wrong. That's good, I said. That's progress. It is. And Maxwell, I want you to know something else. What? You did the right thing. Selling that house, setting boundaries, walking away when we gave you that ultimatum. You did exactly what you needed to do. I wish Id taught you that protecting yourself was okay. I wish Id shown you that it's not selfish to have boundaries. But you figured it out anyway, and I'm proud of you for that. My throat felt tight again. Thanks, Dad. I mean it. You're going to be a great father because you already know what I'm just now learning. That real love means wanting the best for someone, even when the best thing is letting them face the consequences of their own choices. We talked for a few more minutes about lighter things. The house, the baby preparations, the weather. It felt almost normal. When we hung up, Katie was watching me. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. I think I actually am. Do you want to reconnect with them? Eventually. Maybe, I said, but on my terms, with clear boundaries, and only if they continue working on themselves. That's fair. And I need to talk to you about something, I said. What? If they do change, if they do the work and become healthier people, would you be okay with them being part of our baby's life? Supervised visits, clear rules, but part of her life. Katie thought about it. If they truly change and you feel safe with it, then yes. Every child deserves to know their grandparents if those grandparents are safe and healthy. But at the first sign of old patterns, we pull back. Deal. Deal. She squeezed my hand. You know what I think? What? I think you're already breaking the cycle. You're already being the parent you needed. This baby is going to grow up knowing unconditional love that doesn't require her to set herself on fire for other people's comfort. I hope so, I said. I know so. It's been 6 months since that family dinner where Angela announced she was moving into our house. 6 months since I said those words that changed everything. That's awkward. I sold the house last Friday to a couple from Denver. Katie and I are settled in our new house now. The nursery is finished, painted a soft yellow that works for any gender. We have a crib that Katie's father built by hand. We have tiny clothes folded in drawers. We have books and toys and everything a baby could need. Katie's 8 months pregnant now. Her due date is 3 weeks away. We're both excited and terrified in equal measure. My father has visited twice, brief visits, just lunch or coffee, always respectful of our boundaries. Hes still in counseling. Hes still working on himself. He brings updates sometimes about my mother's progress. She's in individual therapy 3 times a week. She's reading books about codependency and enabling. She's trying. I believe him. But I'm not ready to see her yet. Maybe after the baby's born. Maybe not. I'm learning that I don't have to decide everything right now. Angela sent a friend request on social media last month. I didn't accept it. I didn't block her either. I just left it sitting there, unanswered. I heard from Ryan that she's working as a waitress in Phoenix, living in a shared apartment, actually holding down a job for more than a few months. It's something. Maybe it's progress. I hope it is, for her sake. But I don't feel responsible for her anymore. That's the biggest change. The one that matters most. Hello. I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together. Last week, Katie and I were sitting in the nursery, just looking at the empty crib, imagining the baby who'd sleep there soon. Are you scared? Katie asked. Terrified. I admitted, what if I mess up? What if I repeat my parents' mistakes? You won't, she said confidently. How do you know? Because you're aware of them. Because you've done the work to understand what went wrong. Because you know that loving someone doesn't mean enabling them. Your parents didn't know that. You do. She was right. I hoped she was right. This morning, I got a text from my father. Your mother wants to know if she can send a gift for the baby. Just a gift, no strings attached. She won't expect a thank you or a visit or anything. She just wants to give something. I showed the text to Katie. What do you think? I asked. I think it's your decision, she said. What do you want? I thought about it for a long time. About my mother. About the guilt she'd carried for 20 years. About how that guilt had poisoned our family. About how she was trying now. Too late to fix the past, but maybe not too late to be part of the future. I texted back. Okay, but no surprise visits. And no expectations. Understood. My father replied. Thank you. 3 days later, a package arrived. Inside was a handmade quilt, every square carefully stitched, in soft blues and greens and yellows. There was a note tucked inside. For my granddaughter or grandson. I made this with my own hands. I hope it keeps them warm. I hope they grow up knowing love without conditions. I hope they have the childhood I should have given you. Love, Grandma. I held the quilt and cried. Not because it fixed everything. It didn't, but because it was a start. A real start. Katie found me sitting in the nursery, holding the quilt. It's beautiful, she said softly. Yeah, I managed. Does this change things? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Well, see. She sat beside me, her hand on her swollen belly. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Always. I know. We sat there for a while, imagining our future. Not the future we'd thought we'd have 6 months ago, but the one we were building now. A future based on honesty and boundaries and love that didn't require sacrifice. The doorbell rang. Katie hauled herself up to answer it. I heard voices, then she called for me. My father stood on the porch, looking nervous. I hope it's okay that I came by, he said. I know we usually plan ahead, but I wanted to bring something. He held out a wooden box. Inside was a cradle, handmade, sanded smooth, stained a warm honey color. I made this, he said. I've been working on it for 2 months. I wanted your baby to have something from me, something I made with my own hands. The cradle was beautiful, simple but sturdy, with careful joinery and attention to detail. It's perfect, I said, and meant it. Can I see where you'll put it? He asked tentatively. I looked at Katie. She nodded. We led him to the nursery. He set up the cradle gently, testing the rockers, making sure everything was stable. This is a nice room, he said, looking around. You two did good work here. Thanks. He turned to me. I know I don't say it enough, but I'm really proud of you, Maxwell. Not just for the house, or the job, or the baby. I'm proud of you for standing your ground. For knowing your worth. For teaching me something I should have known all along. What's that? That love without boundaries isn't really love at all. That's because you were raised to think that protecting yourself was selfish, but it's not. It's necessary. And now you get to teach our daughter that. She was right. Everything I'd learned over the past 6 months, every hard choice I'd made, every boundary I'd set, it was all preparing me to be the father I wanted to be. A father who showed his child that you can love people without sacrificing yourself for them, that you can have compassion without enabling destruction, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. 3 weeks later, our daughter was born. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, healthy and perfect. We named her Claire, after Katie's grandmother. My father visited in the hospital. He held Claire carefully, tears streaming down his face. She's beautiful, he whispered. Just beautiful. She is. I agreed. Thank you for letting me be here, he said. You're her grandfather, I replied. As long as you keep being the man you're trying to become, you'll be part of her life. He looked at me, really looked at me. I won't let you down. Or her. I promise. I believed him. Maybe I was being naive again. Maybe I was setting myself up for disappointment. But I chose to believe him anyway. Before he left, I asked him something I'd been wondering. Do you ever hear from Angela? Not in 3 months, he said. Last I heard, she was still in Phoenix. Still working. Your mother tries to call her sometimes, but Angela doesn't answer. Are you worried about her? Every day, he admitted. But I'm learning to distinguish between worry and responsibility. I can worry about her without feeling responsible for fixing her life. That's what the therapy is teaching me. Good, I said. That's good. My mother sent flowers to the hospital. The card said simply, "Congratulations. She's lucky to have you both." No pressure, no requests. Just acknowledgement. Katie said I could invite her to visit if I wanted. I said maybe in a few months, when we were more settled. When I felt ready, she understood. Now, holding my daughter in our home, in the nursery we prepared, surrounded by the family we chose and the family we're cautiously rebuilding, I understand something fundamental about love. Real love isn't about grand gestures or constant sacrifice. It's not about setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Real love is about showing up honestly, respecting boundaries, and wanting what's best for someone even when it's hard. For years, I thought being a good son meant always saying yes, always helping, always putting my family first, no matter the cost to myself. But that wasn't love. That was fear disguised as duty. Selling that house, standing my ground at that family dinner, saying no to my parents. Those weren't acts of selfishness. They were acts of self-respect. And teaching my daughter self-respect will be one of the greatest gifts I can give her. She'll grow up knowing that her worth isn't conditional, that she doesn't have to earn love through sacrifice, that saying no is sometimes the kindest thing you can do, both for yourself and for others. She'll grow up in a home where boundaries are respected, where honesty is valued more than comfort, where love doesn't require you to lose yourself. That's the real happy ending. Not that my family magically became perfect. They didn't. We're still figuring it out, still healing, still learning. But I broke the cycle. I chose differently. I built something better. And when Claire is old enough to understand, he'll tell her this story, not to turn her against her grandparents, but to teach her the lesson it took me 32 years to learn. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help others by destroying yourself. You cannot love anyone properly if you don't love yourself enough to protect your own peace. That's what I learned when I sold that house. When I said no at that dinner table. When I walked away from people who demanded I sacrifice my life for theirs. I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. And I learned that real family, the kind worth having, will respect you for it. So here's my question for anyone listening to this story. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own well-being? Have you ever had to set a boundary that felt impossible to set? And if you did, how did it change your life? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about boundaries, family, and what real love actually looks like. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about navigating difficult family dynamics. And share this with anyone who might need to hear it. Anyone who's struggling with setting boundaries or feeling guilty for protecting themselves. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you remember that your peace matters. Your boundaries matter. You matter. Take care of yourselves out there. And remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's the only way to survive.